So in some of our other videos, we've talked about pails and rails for the ankle, how to increase ankle mobility and knee health through pails and rails. But something else that we can do is we can design exercises to strengthen the ankle and strengthen the knee in those extreme ranges of motion that so often hold you back from lifting properly and increase your risk of injury on the field. So I'm going to go over 3 exercises today that I believe if you will routinely do as your warm-up on their own, but implement these things 3-4 times a week, just through 2 to 3 sets of 10 reps, you will transform not only your mobility, but your strength in the patella tendon and in the ankle so that you're going to be much more efficient in the weight room and you're going to be way more protected against injury in the field. So the first of these exercises we're going to talk about is going to be an iso lunge. What that means is it's an isometric lunge. Isometric means a non-moving lunge. It's a hold exercise, for lack of a better term. So in an isometric lunge, what we're going to do, and if you're one of our athletes, you're very, very familiar with this, but maybe you don't know why we do this. We're going to get down into a lunge position. Vertical with my front shin, vertical with my back thigh or my back femur, back toes on the ground. I'm going to lift off the ground 6 inches with my back knee, and I'm going to lift off the ground as much as I can with this front heel. Okay, and you'll notice I'm already shaking a little bit. This is a challenging position to get into for most athletes. Now, why are we doing this, okay? Well, we're doing this because I want a low impact exercise that done daily is gonna strengthen my patella tendon and flexion and an extension. And I want to introduce this ankle into that extension position for a long period of time. We're going to hold this starting with sets of 45 seconds, and then over time we're going to build it up to 50, 55, all the way to 1.5 minutes. Once we're at that position, I feel most of our athletes are pretty competent in it. We could load it from there, but we have other ways to further strengthen this knee. You're going to have pretty healthy knees at that point. Now, one thing we can do if this is getting too easy is I can take this knee and the back knee and start pulling those together, and now I'm getting some stress through the groin, through the abdomen, and through the back hip, and this is just going to further enhance the capabilities of this lunge. Our next exercise, I'm going to do these in cuts, okay? So that way I can use them later in something else. Our next exercise is going to be a heel raised squat, called a cyclist squat by a lot of coaches. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to take the ankle and give it a little bit less requirements mobility-wise, okay? So by raising up the heel, the ankle doesn't have to quite bend as far as it would otherwise in a normal squat. This makes it a little bit easier. And then what we want to do is we want to take the knees and we want to strengthen them, okay, in a little bit less of a loaded position. So I'm going to get right here. My heels are up on the plates, my toes are in the ground, and I want to be railroad tracks. I do not want to be in an open position. Now, this isn't true with every squat, but the point of this squat is I'm trying to load and strengthen my knees. So if my point is to load and strengthen the knees, I don't want to transfer force into the groin and hips. I want to keep it right where we're working. So I'm going to go into this squat, and you can hold a dumbbell, you could hold a plate. We're going to do it body weight today just for demonstrations purposes, but it's really important that as I go through the squat, I maintain really good posture. Chest is big, my shoulder blades are back, my rib cage is down, I have a vertical neutral spine, and I've got my shoulders stacked over my hips. You can put your hands out in front of you. You can cross over like this. I'm going to hold just my hands right here to keep that chest up. You could also put a dumbbell vertical and hold it goblet style. That's what most of our athletes do when we do this position. Then I'm going to load by having my knees pushed over my toes, okay? Even though that might go against a lot of traditional thinking, I want my knees over my big toes. They're going to come down. I'm going to have my hips all the way to my heels, and then my goal is I want to lay my hamstrings onto my calves with really vertical torso, chest is big, and then as I come back up, I want to have no hinge of the hips. So I don't want to shoot my hips up first. I want to push through the dumbbell, push my chest up, control. I'm going to come all the way up to about a quarter of the way up. Now, by coming a quarter of the way up, I'm keeping stress and strain in that quad, okay? Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to load this VMO, the bottom of the quad, throughout the entire exercise. And I'm going to control back down. Hamstrings on calves, maintaining good posture, back up, pause, back down, pause. You can play around with tempos right here, but we like to do 15 to 20 reps with a 3 to 3 tempo, 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down. This next exercise we're going to talk about, we call here at Liberty ankle squats. A lot of coaches call them front foot elevated split squats. Really, all that matters with this exercise is the intent of what you're doing, because you can do a split squat loading for strength, but that's not quite what we're working on here. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take this front foot that we're using in our split squat, and we're trying to load the ankle and the knee and as much flexion forward as we can possibly get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get just like a traditional split squat, front foot forward. I want to make sure that my entire foot is on my raised element. Now it can be 2 plates, it can be a box, and as you get good at these, you may not even need that front element to accomplish the flexion that you're trying to get. But for us, we usually do 2 plates or one of these old school rubberized plates. They're really thick, 4 to 6 inches off the ground. Now, I can do this with a dumbbell, goblet style. I can hold dumbbells in each hand. I can go with a barbell on my back. We're going to demo it today, just pretending we've got a goblet style dumbbell right here. Important piece of it though is I don't want to round my back. I want to keep that good posture, stack the shoulders over the hips, neutral spine, rib cage down, but not extended or flexed too much either direction. I'm right here, my chest is big, and my goal, my purpose right here is to get my knee as far over this front toe as possible. Now, if you watch kids do this, they'll start compensating outside or inside, okay? So I want to make sure that my path is directly over the big toe. Not just that I'm getting forward, but I'm getting forward in a straight line. That's really important as you watch doing this exercise. So I'm right here, I've got my goblet, and I'm going to controlled push my knee over my toe. I'm going to go as far as I can without letting this back heel raise up off the plate. It needs to stay there. I want this knee over the toe. I've said that a couple of times now. I want really extreme shin position right here, and I want to stack torso over my hips. I'm going to drive up and back, lock out, and bring myself back into this position. It's good to hang out here for a second or two. I don't just want to bounce out of it. I want to show that I can control this space over my toes. Now, why are we doing this? Well, number one, I want to load the tissue of the knee and the ankle in an extreme flexion position. If your knees are going to hurt, if your ankle's going to hurt, if you're not going to have very much strength or mobility, it's going to be at this extreme range of motion. So I want to strengthen this. Another piece of this, though, is I'm going to be in this extreme flexion position a lot of the times when sprinting. So if I can get better right here in the weight room, my body's going to produce more force out on the field when we get into that position. I usually do sets of 10 on each side, tempo about 2 to 3 seconds down, 2 to 3 seconds out with a 1 second pause. But you can play around with eccentrics, you can play around with isometrics, you can do other things there. The important piece is I'm getting that knee far over that toe. I'm teaching the body to be strong in this position right here.